Hey loves, this is Shayloves89, and I am here to react to the Late Night Messenger by Snarled. Also, I would like to welcome three new subscribers to my channel. Welcome, my loves. We're just gonna go ahead and get started.
Hey, I'm Sapphire. Want to hear something scary? The Messenger. The following story was inspired by a submission from Victor. This is a story his grandfather told him. Victor's grandfather, Ricardo, used to work as a mail and message man. This was back when people communicated primarily through letters or Morse code. Because not everyone was literate, he was hired by people who needed someone to write their letters for them. Sometimes he'd be called to read aloud letters that had been received. One day, he received an urgent request from his employer via Morse code. Family needs your immediate assistance reading a letter. Double pay. It was the middle of the night and the address was at least an hour walk away, but Ricardo was fine with it if it meant more money. So he put on his coat, grabbed a lantern, and headed out. It was pretty chilly that night. The wind was gently whistling, the crickets were softly singing, and the only light was from the moon and Ricardo's lantern. He decided to take a shortcut through the wooded area of the town. The trees blocked out most of the moonlight, but Ricardo wasn't afraid of the dark. He had been walking for about 10 minutes when he noticed a very small, flickering light up ahead. Curious to know what it was, Ricardo picked up speed towards the light. As he came closer, he saw a handsome, sharply dressed, middle-aged man trying to light a cigarette. "Hey," the man called to him. "Want to give me a hand?" Ricardo walked up to the man and...
I'm gonna pause it right there. You see a man in the darkness with just your light and the moon light. And he's trying to flick a cigarette. He's nice, dressed handsomely and stuff. No. 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 He's just sitting there in the dark, trying to light up a cigarette. And you just not finding him between the moonlight and your light. Something not right there. Something not right. That's all I'm saying.
shielded his cigarette so that the flame wouldn't go out. He stunk of tequila. "You probably shouldn't be smoking," Ricardo mentioned. The man looked at him with a smile. "You sound just like my wife. What are you doing out here in the middle of the night anyway? I could ask you the same thing."
What is you doing here at the middle of the night, Mr. Drunk Sir? Let's smoke a cigarette in the dark. Huh? What is you doing? He has a job to do. You out here in the dark.
Ricardo said, bluntly. He was never one to shy away from expressing his thoughts. The man chuckled and held out his hand and introduced himself as Javier. He gestured with his cigarette. "What the wife doesn't know won't hurt her. So, where you headed?" "The street by the old church." "I'm headed that way too. I'll walk with you." And so the two men began to walk side by side. Javier was very chatty and opened up to Ricardo. He confessed that he had gotten himself into a very bad situation and owed a lot of terrible people a lot of money. But tomorrow he was going to confront the boss and negotiate a deal. There was a pretty high chance it would not end well. Ricardo asked him if his family knew about any of this, and Javier laughed. "My wife thinks I'm a traveling salesman. If she ever found out where our money actually came from, whew, I'm a dead man." They reached the church and Ricardo spotted the house he was looking for. It was a modest home, surrounded by a low fence covered in unique decorations Ricardo had never seen the likes of before. As he knocked on the door, Ricardo had completely forgotten about his companion, but when he turned around to say goodbye, Javier had already left.
I'm getting this feeling. I'm just getting this feeling something ain't right. It's like right here. like something's not right. And then you have candy looking skulls or sugar skulls, oh, on the gate with along what looks like stuff to like keep away evil, like beatery or necklace, or like, I'm not saying charms. I don't want to say charms. That's not the word I'm looking for. If you know what I'm looking for, just put it in the comments below. Thank you. But
The door was opened by a small boy who led him inside. There, he was greeted by a visibly upset woman. The inside of the house was decorated with even more strange amulets and charms. The woman thanked him for coming at such a late hour and shoved a letter in his hands. Ricardo read the first line out loud. To the family of Javier Garcia.
you were walking with a ghost. You were walking with a dead man already. The man is dead. Oh, you can see my eyes watering up. As soon as he read the letter to the family of Javier, that man was already either killed already. That man had to be killed. I knew I was. I knew I was feeling something, right? I knew I was feeling something. Oh, all right. Ooh, eyes.
He paused. He silently read the rest of the letter to himself. With every word, his eyes grew wider and wider. His heart dropped deeper and deeper. Your husband is a worthless piece of shit. He's now underground where he belongs. And if you don't send the rest of the money he owes us, you'll join him too. Ricardo stared in.
I knew that man was dead. I called it. I called it. I called it. I said, there's no reason why a man sitting in the dark trying to light up a lighter, and you're just now seeing him. I was like, either he was trouble or something happened to him. So the man is probably buried under that tree where he was standing at. That's all I'm thinking. It's, I knew something. I knew something wasn't right.
In total disbelief at the page in front of him. The woman was pestering Ricardo to read the letter aloud. He turned to Javier's family and said, your husband is fine.
Lies.
He was sent on a last-minute, very important trip. It won't be long before you see him again. I'm sorry, I have to go. Good night. Ricardo left the house with a knot in his stomach. The family was in danger, but he just couldn't bring himself to tell them the truth.
Sir, if that family is in danger, you warn them. Warn them so they can prepare for themselves. Because you just pretty much signed their death certificates. That's what you just did. You just sent them to their early grave. Why didn't you warn them? Because if that was your family, you would have want them to be warned. Hello, well, why? Why would you not warn that family? You ain't right.
And ruin their image of Javier. Once he reached the fence, he found Javier was standing just on the other side, but he no longer looked clean-cut and put together. His face was battered and bruised, his suit drenched in blood and sweat. His limbs were contorted in horrific ways. He saw Ricardo and lifted his unlit cigarette with his mutilated arm. Hey, want to give me a hand?
That creeped me out a little bit towards the end. It did. It creeped me out just a little bit. And I called it. The man disappeared looking like he was healthy. When you was talking to him and walking with him, he looked like he was all healthy. Just to find out that he was dead. You was walking with a dead man, with a ghost. No, no, no. Something deep in my spirit that said, he ain't living. But something happened to this man. And I figured it out before he was dead. Because as soon as he read that letter, Dear Javier, I was like, Yeah, Javier's family. I was like, ooh, that man got murdered. He got murdered. He got murdered for real. But
Limbs were contorted in horrific ways. He saw Ricardo and lifted his unlit cigarette.
but he disappeared when they got to his house. So was the charms keeping him away? Was the charms and stuff keeping his spirit away because he's on the other side of the gate instead of where he was before? That's what I'm wondering. But okay.
With his mutilated arm. Hey, want to give me a hand? Thank you to all of our patrons. If you'd like to join our
Alright, guys. So, that ending gave me a little bit of a chill. Just a little chill. So, I figured out the man died, but question is, the question I asked before. He was walking with this man, and then he was nowhere to be found. So, like I was asking, was the charms keeping him away? Or is it just that you had to figure out the man was dead to realize that you were walking with a spirit? And how come he was on the other side of the gate instead of the side you were on? But y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments below. I will see you guys.
This sound like what? 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 This